Hi guys, let's talk about event handling. So I have a list of persons here and we want to handle two events. First event is a change in the input. So whenever I type something, we have to fire an event. And the second event is when I click the add button in order to add another person to the list. So let's start with the change event. We can add onChange handler here, like this, and in order to be sure that it works, I will add the console log here with the value. So now whenever I type something, we can see the value in the console. So this is working. And now let's move on to the button. So here we want to add the onClick event handler. Okay, done. So now whenever I click, whenever I type in a name and click add, the person is added to the list. Let's move on to another case. So what if the element, so input or button or whatever, is not directly in the component we are working on, but in the child component? So for example, person. Let's say that we want to remove the person from the list whenever we click on the person. And we can't add the handler here. As you can see now, nothing is happening. And that is because actually the person tag is not added to the DOM. You can see we have the person and we have div and h2, but no person tag. Person is not a HTML element, it is a React component. So by doing this, we are not attaching onClick event listener to the person, we are passing the onClick as a props to the person component. We have to use that handler in the person component on the div element. And we can, but we still want to manipulate the array which we have in the state of the app component. So what can we do? Let's say that I name it onClick handler, and then in person I can add the onClick and use this props onClick handler. And now when I click the person, we have the test log. So let's now implement the function which actually removes the person from the list. So remove person. So this is the function, and now we can use it instead of this. This remove person, and we want to pass the index I. So let's add a person. The console log is not needed anymore. So once more, we add the person. And now when I click the person is, we have a typo. The typo is here, it should be slice. So once again, we add ube and then remove it. Okay, so this is working, but I think that we could add one more nice feature. So whenever the input is empty, we should not be able to click the add button, as it results in adding empty person, so it makes no sense. So let's do it by adding the disabled property here. And we want the button to be disabled when the left on the input is 0. Okay, so now it is disabled. When I type something, then it's enabled and we can add the person. And one more thing which I think we should do is to reset the input value whenever we add a new person. Like this. So once more, we add Ivar. And to make it work, we need to do one more thing. Here we need to bind the value property with the value from our state, like this. So now it's empty. Now I add Ivar. It's empty again. I can remove Ivar. Everything works. So that's it for React. Let's move on to Angular. So again, let's start with the input. In HTML, we can use input event, and here we define which function we want to fire whenever the input changes, and we pass the event as an argument. Now we can add a console log here to see if it really works. And now when I type something in the input, we can see that the event is here. So we can simply do this input value equals to event target value, and we have to cast the event target to HTML input element. There is also a shortcut to this approach. Let's output the input value here below for debugging purposes. So we can see it is being updated. Here we don't actually have to have the function if what we want to do is really simple. We could actually just write input value equals to event target value, and it gives the same result. And another approach would be to use ngModel equals to input value. This approach is also going to work, but it needs the forms module to be imported in the app module, or actually to be available in the component you are using the ngModel in. So I imported it just for the demo purposes so that you can see that it works. So now when I change this, it's still working, but for this video we will stay with the first approach. Okay, so now when we click the add button, we want to add the person to the list. So click, and when we click, we want to trigger the add person function. And let's pass we can pass the input value, or we could use this input value here. Doesn't make a difference. So as you can see, this line is exactly the same as in React. Actually, let me show you the React function. So in React we had this. So this line is almost the same, but in Angular we don't have this set state function. We only need this. And we need to assign this new array to these persons. And now when I add Ube, it's on the list. Okay, let's now work on removing the person from the array. So I will quickly grab the code for removing from React, which is this block of code, but we don't have the setState function. This is this persons, and then we return nothing, but we set this persons to the new array. In contrary to React, we are not going to pass the function handler to the child, so we are not going to do this like we did in React. That is simply not Angular way. Instead, we are going to do something different. So in the person component, in the HTML, I am adding a event handler for the click event. So whenever I click the person, on person clicked function is fired. And in the person component, we have so-called output. And whenever we click the person, we emit the person clicked event. And now in the app component, we can react to this event. So whenever the person clicked event comes, we want to trigger the remove person function and pass the index to this function, but we don't have the index yet. But we can add it here. Let I equals index. On person clicked. Oh no, it's just person clicked. So person clicked. Remove person. Okay, so let's add Ube and try to remove him. Yeah. Let's also add the cursor pointer so that it looks the same as in the React app. And once again, we add a new person, and then we can remove that person. But still, we can add persons even when the input is empty. So let's fix it. It needs to be in the square brackets. Oh, now it works. So we have all the functionality, and that's it. So I think that the biggest difference is in how we handle passing the event handler to the child component. So in React, we would do something like this with this handler here, but in Angular we use the output decorator to emit another event. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.